Respond when somebody asks you, "How are you?" This is one of the most common questions in the English language, and there are actually a few different ways you can ask this question, and there are also a few different ways you can answer it. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video, so make sure to stay till the end if you want to learn how you can ask this question and answer this question in different situations. Now, this question, "How are you?" is probably one of the first things you learnt when you started studying English. It's completely correct, it's completely normal, it's completely natural. You could also say, "How are you doing?" How are you doing? You might say, "How's it going?" How's it going? How are things? How are things? How's everything? How's life? And if you want to be really informal, you could say, "What's up?" What's up? This is especially American. You could shorten that to sup. What's up or sup? But again, this is very informal. I wouldn't recommend using this with your boss unless you have a close relationship with him or her. In British English, you might hear a lot of native speakers ask the question, "You all right?" You all right? Now, I'm Canadian. I never say this. Most Americans never say this. It's very common in British English, but it's actually not really a question. If somebody asks you, "You all right?" they're basically saying hello. They're acknowledging you. They're not actually asking you how your day was or how you're really feeling. It's more like a greeting, and it's much more common in British English. Now, another question, which is actually not really a question, is how do you do? How do you do? You might have heard this especially in older movies or in more formal environments, especially in British English, and it's not as common anymore. I've actually never been in a situation where I've used this, but the correct response to how do you do is also how do you do. So if somebody asks you how do you do, you should respond how do you do. So it's not actually a question, it's more like a greeting. And again, you probably will never encounter this if you're speaking to somebody from the older generation, especially in the UK. You might come across this, but it's not very common in modern 21st century environments. Now, earlier I mentioned you could say, "How are you doing?" Of course, you could also say, "How are you doing today?" "How are you doing tonight?" You could also use the present perfect, "How have you been?" "How have you been lately?" "How have you been doing?" Present perfect continuous. Those are all possible options, perfectly acceptable at work, at school, when you're talking to friends. They're very, very common, and they're appropriate in basically every situation. Lastly, you could say, "How are things going?" How are things going? These are all possible ways of asking, "How are you?" Before I teach you how to answer this question, make sure to subscribe to English at the Ready here on YouTube if you're finding this lesson useful. Feel free to leave a like and let me know in the comments if you're finding this video useful, if you can think of any other ways of asking this question in English. And of course, if you want to learn more about how I can help you improve your English this year, click the link in the video description below to learn more. Now, as I mentioned before, if somebody asks you, "How are you?" especially in a more formal environment like at work or at school, also with strangers, with people you don't know very well, they're probably not actually asking you how you really are. They're using this question more like a greeting, more like a way of saying hello. So what you don't want to do is interpret this question as an invitation to share all your problems or to open up about everything that's going wrong in your life. Think of it more like a greeting, like hello. That being said, if you're close friends with somebody or a family member is asking you this question, then yes, They probably do expect an honest response because they know you, they care about you. So there's a difference between a stranger asking this question, how are you, versus somebody you actually know well. So just keep this in mind. And when you're talking to strangers, it's best to give a positive answer. Now, the most common answer is, fine, thank you. How are you? Or, I'm well, thank you. How are you? You could also say, not too bad. Everything's good. I can't complain. Now, a lot of native speakers will say, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. But this is technically not correct. The correct way of saying this is, I'm doing well. Doing is a verb, and to modify a verb, we need an adverb. Well is an adverb. So we would say, I'm doing well. Not I'm doing good, but I'm doing well. Obviously, a lot of native speakers say I'm doing good. It's very, very common, but technically, it's not grammatically correct. You could also say, I'm okay, pretty good. How's everything on your end? Now, if you're talking to a friend or somebody you know a bit better, you might say, I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. This just means that you are surviving, basically. You're doing okay. You're not doing great, but you're also not doing horribly. You're just hanging in there. You might also say, same old. Same old. This just means nothing new has happened in your life. Everything's the same as it was. So again, these are things you can say in a more formal environment, in a more professional environment, in a more social environment when you're meeting strangers or people you don't know very well. Now, if you're talking to somebody you know well, and you know they're asking, how are you, because they genuinely care about you, and you're not having a good day, you can be honest with them. You can say, honestly, I'm not having the best day. Honestly, I'm not doing too well. I'm not doing too great. It's been one of those days. I'm having a tough day. I'm a little down today. Down is used here as a synonym for sad. If you're feeling down, you're feeling sad. You could also say, I'm feeling a bit under the weather. Under the weather means sick. If you're feeling sick, you could say you're under the weather. You might also say, I'm struggling today. It's been a rough day. Another common thing to say is, I'm feeling a bit off. This also means you're feeling a bit sick, but sometimes you might use it in other situations. For example, if you're not feeling your usual self, maybe you're sad, maybe you're a bit tired, you would say, I'm feeling a bit off today. I'm not my usual self. Again, if you're talking to strangers, if you're talking to people you don't know well, I probably wouldn't be 100% truthful. I probably wouldn't be honest about the fact that I'm not having a great day. But if somebody you know is asking you, how are you? You can be honest with them and you can tell them how you're actually feeling. Now, I hope you are having a good day. I hope this video was useful. I hope you were able to learn some new words, some new phrases, some new ways of asking and responding to the question, how are you? Make sure to leave a like if you found this video useful. Of course, there are so many other ways of responding depending on the situation, depending on who you're talking to, but in today's video, I focused on some of the most common ways. Let me know in the comments if you found this video useful, if you can think of any more ways of asking this question or responding to this question. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to English at the Ready here on YouTube so you don't miss any future lessons.